This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Giancarlo Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Left right field towards the corner. Gone!
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio. SVP and Russillo, the podcast.
Hey, it's SVP and Russillo. We appreciate you checking out the podcast. Neither Ryen or I can summon any false outrage about Brady and the Patriots, but I do believe he'll be suspended. We talk a bunch about that. What are the true feelings that Stanford Steve and Outsider Mike have about Ryen and me? We found out. What do you think of Kevin Love? Has your perception changed? Do you have empathy for him? And how might it change as the playoffs continue? We play what? Some good questions asked there. Michael Wilbon explains his comments that you might have caught on PTI about LaShawn McCoy, Chip Kelly, and the idea of race in the NFL. And my one big thing on as cool a debut as you could possibly have in sports. Podcast starts now.
Now, SVP and Russillo on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNradio.com.
I'm not at the fatigue level I've been with other stories because this one went away and has been resurrected with the Wells report on Tom Brady and the deflation of footballs, etc. My feeling I refuse to use the term Deflategate because, again, for those that don't understand, the Watergate was a hotel. It was not a scandal about water. It was the Watergate. So anything that involves some scandalous issue doesn't just get gate thrown on the end of it and have it make any sense. This one just happens to rhyme. It is a
But if everyone does it for decades, I mean, it was kind of too late, right?
So this could have been used as what's my most annoying trait, the semantics things that bother me. But this is dumb.
I understand where you're coming from, but this is one of those fights where you go
lost, fight lost, fight lost, move on. Noted. So Deflategate, a lot of folks have said, you know, if this weren't Brady, how would you react? Are you acting this way because it's Brady and he's some accomplished quarterback and you just shrug? I would ask it this way: if this were Andy Dalton, what would people's appetite for this storyline be? You know, Bengals in that playoff game, deflated footballs. Okay, what would you like to see happen?
I wouldn't care. I just think it's funny that it turns into meaning everyone that is over the story or is not outraged. That's the best way to put it. If you're not outraged by the story, then you are perceived to be pro-Brady and pro-Patriots. But I would flip it the other way and going, so you'd be just as mad at ESPN's coverage or any opinion maker's take on this if it were, say, Andy Dalton. If Derek Carr had illegal socks, what if he used a glove that was made in Malaysia?
Like
wasn't cleared.
Fur on the inside with extra gripping. Yeah.
And Mike and Mike were great on this. The cooking oil, the spray, the cooking spray, Vaseline on your arms on the linemen so the D lineman can't be held or the O lineman can't be held.
Silicone.
Right. I mean, what did you guys do at Stanford?
Got sprayed with silicone every game.
Cheaters!
Every game.
Would you ever use stickum? Was it legal, illegal?
Hey, we had gloves by then. I didn't play in the 80s.
Sometimes I wonder. But look, Jerry Rice said that he played with stickum and then sprayed it on the gloves. My point is none of this stuff bothers me. And I think the most fascinating thing of this, Scott, is that we're at a place where more people expect a suspension for Brady and will accept it. And I just think it's so stupid. And I think he lied. And I don't care that he lied. Like, I think he went overboard with it, but he lied about something that I think is a real gray area, like a lot of this stuff in sports. And once that gray area stuff becomes public, the people that can't process that, yes, there are these gray areas in sports. It's not really cheating, but it's not totally legal either, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, people want to just be mad. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, not everything is going to be by the book.
Spare your outrage for things that are outrageous. That continues to be my message. This isn't...
In 16, you think?
Say again?
2016.
This isn't outrageous. This is a common practice. Now, I do not excuse it. I make the same analogy. When you drive home from work today, when I go home on 84, I'm bombing down the road, 70, whatever, and people are passing me. Guess what I'm doing? I'm breaking the law, and I have company in everyone I'm driving home with. If I get yanked, then that's me. That's on me. I was speeding. I was going beyond. I exceeded the speed limit. No argument. everyone's doing it isn't an excuse. But this isn't murder, it's speeding, the way I see it. My understanding of the way football is played. Coaches, players that you talk to, it's an understood. The problem is that Brady and the Pats were going to the Super Bowl. And so he couldn't very well get up there and say, yep, I told my guy Jastrzemski I needed him to take a pound out. So you shrug, you lock arms, you try to stay true to your story, and you say this.
I don't believe so. I mean, I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never do anything to break the rules. I believe in fair play, and I respect the league and everything that they're doing to try to create a very competitive playing field for all the NFL teams. It's a very competitive league. You know, every team is...
Don't need to hear any more. It's basically, I don't think I did anything wrong. Well, if you had guys that were taking out air and the text messages that those guys sent back and forth to one another, it's clear that this went on. So it's clear that Brady specifically was dishonest and that everyone's paying attention, and that's why I believe that there will be some type of suspension. I believe it's silly, but I believe it will happen.
How much of the Ray Rice stuff, the stuff of the last year, how much do you think that has to do with influencing what Goodell will do with this?
Meaning what? That the climate is such that punishment is expected?
Yeah, I mean, they're two completely different things. Mm-hmm. But do you think if you don't think it will have any impact, then I guess that's the question.
No, I don't. I believe the impact is past transgressions, an organization that has been slapped with massive fines, and the fact that this makes Goodell look like he's playing favorites, and it makes him look like, you know. And the whole idea of having a cozy relationship with Kraft, I mean, this isn't school. There aren't thousands of people. It's a small fraternity. They all get on pretty well with one another.
He works for him.
Right.
That's the other thing.
That too. That part of it too.
Okay.
So I believe that has far more to do with it than what happened last fall with Rice and then Peterson and Hardy and all of those things. This is an on-field thing. And there would be some that would say, and Bill Polian was one, that, you know, a between-the-lines issue, competitive balance, that perception is as important as anything.
There are a lot of rules that are violated. Everybody in professional sports, any sport goes right to the edge. But it's been a long-held proposition in the league that the closer you get to the white lines, the more serious the competitive violation. And in this particular case, the competitive violation took place within the white lines. That's serious. It's not passing a stop sign. It's not going 5 miles beyond the speed limit. It's a very serious violation.
How do you react to Polian? This is a guy we respect as much as anybody. How do you react to that?
I love Bill, but I think it gets real personal when it's the Patriots. And the Patriots have brought a lot of it on themselves, and they deserve a lot of the heat. But it doesn't then mean that this thing that I think a lot of quarterbacks have the footballs to their liking. And you're right, when Rodgers, during the Phil Simms broadcast on CBS, because I like to be a little more inflated, nobody's mad about that. I think Belichick has been a petty person. I think Belichick's been somebody the NFL has helped out at times in the past, and they can resent the way he reacts back and forth with him. If you're a Patriots fan, you're going, I don't care how Belichick's perceived. All we do is win. It doesn't matter if you guys think he's petty. But I think all of those things built up turns this into a league that is always out to get him, not just because of the winning, but because I just don't think a lot of other people in the profession like him. And that's not his job to be liked, but I think at times he pays that price. And he paid it with Mangini when he went to the Jets and started all the Spygate stuff. And clearly, in this report, you read that the Colts say it was well known throughout the league with other equipment guys. The Patriots mess with their footballs, and they do it all the time. They've been doing it for Brady. And, you know, it seems a little petty on the Colts side of things because they write this dramatic email to the NFL for the goodness of the shield and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, you didn't care that the balls were deflated in the first half and set up the sting operation, and then you find out that we have all this stuff now, and that's where we're at, and then you still get trounced in the second half. So, I don't really want to choose a side. I'm just not mad.
I'm not either. I can't pretend to be outraged over something that isn't outrageous, and I just can't, and I won't. My sense is that because the league's saying in so many words, look, you knew, and then you were dishonest. It's the dishonesty portion of this that I wonder I wonder how it comes back to bite them. And my guess, and it's only a guess, I said at the start of the show, I don't care about everyone's opinion. The only opinion that matters is the NFL, and it's my guess that they'll have to come down with something.
But, Scott, there's no failed drug test. There's no video of Brady doing anything here. We have a guy walking into a room with a bag of footballs that doesn't make any sense for 100 seconds. So even though the circumstantial evidence is significant, and you read the report and go, well, clearly something is going on here. The way the guys are texting with each other, referencing Brady, and Brady says he doesn't even know who McNally is, and he's been on the staff for 15 years. These guys lied. Something happens. But then to say now we're going to hand you a punishment without anything other than, yeah, this probably happened, that's a reach.
You and I agree. Sell me that, Roger Goodell. Sell me that.
But again, does he care? Does he care to sell it to you? Does it matter if he doesn't sell it to you? Because it doesn't matter. And Brady's not playing Thursday. We can sit here and go, oh, the NFL, it's terrible for them. Guess what? There's more games that weekend.
Yep. I understand
you know what I'm saying?
I understand that point. I don't think, I mean, when that whole, the climate for him was so bad, people thought he was going to lose his job. And he just went and he hid and he waited, and then the weather changed. And
no, we gave up because we wanted to do something else.
That's what I mean by the weather change.
Oh, okay,
We got onto a different story, and that'll happen here. But if I just don't know that you can say, and people like Tom Brady, I don't know that he can just aw shucks his way and like, hey man, we just really look forward to playing the Steelers. And
yeah, he can, because Belichick, that's what he does, and that's what he's going to tell Brady to do, and he's going to go, man.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. Half the year, I'm hearing people think that. Half the year. For this. Come on. Something's going to happen, though. We're not the investigative arm of ESPN, but
not yet.
We have sources, and those sources have provided to us audio of text messages
between McNally and Yastrzemski. You've never heard this anywhere before. We're not even clearing it for other shows at ESPN.
And you might be asking yourself, it's a text. How is there audio of a text? Technology, dude. Here they are. For the first, you've never heard this. Here it is. Tom sucks. I'm going to make that next ball a balloon.
Talked to him last night, kid. He actually brought you up and said you must have a lot of stress going on to get him done. I told him it was. He was right, though. I checked some of the balls this morning. The rest us. A few of them were almost at 16. They didn't recheck them after they put A in them.
Tom, 16's nothing. Wait till next Sunday.
Oh, my God, Spaz. Can't wait to give you the needle this week.
Tom, make sure the pump's attached to the needle. Watermelon's coming.
So angry.
The only thing deflating, son, is his passer rating.
I have a big needle for you this week.
Better be surrounded by cash and new kicks, or it's Rugby Sunday. Tom.
Maybe you'll have some nice size 11s in your locker.
Tom must really be working your balls hard this week. You working?
Yup.
Nice, dude. Jimmy needs some kicks. Let's make a deal. Come on. Help the deflator. Chill, buddy. I'm just with you. I'm not going to ESPN yet. Those things were actually said, apparently, back and forth via text between these two gentlemen, Yastrzemski and McNally. What does it all mean?
Well, it means Brady lied that day. And you know what? It also means I don't care. Because he lied about
a football.
about the air pressure of a football.
Rodgers apparently likes him a little bit more inflated because he's got giant mitts, likes to grip it. Would we be more bummed out if you put more air in it? I think he's going to get sat down.
SVP and Russillo.
Over the years, we've had some fun. You love it when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I do. And sometimes it hurts, but it's better for the listener. I think we're giving the listener what they want because you and I just all the time, this is what I think, and this is what I think, and I'm right because of this. You know, a lot of times that guy's in the car. I've been the guy in the car. Like, shut up. You're not that great. So now here's your chance to hear how not great we are. It's not who's the jerk. It's from the people that brought you ColecoVision. You know what I mean?
Without question. Do I go first, or do you go first?
Yeah, why don't you go first? So here's the rules. Here's how I was going to set it up. We're going to alternate questions. We're going to about 4 each. They're pretty mean-spirited, but we're going to get to those hot water issues that Outsider Mike is so uncomfortable with. He's probably going to be more uncomfortable than we are, and then Stanford Steve. So the same question goes to both guys. We get their answers. Does everybody understand?
All right. I will start this off. Describe the off-air persona of Ryen and Scott in one word. Outsider Mike, go.
For you, Scott, I'm going busy.
Okay.
Busy.
Busy.
Busy. What does that mean?
He's a very busy guy. He's always doing something.
All right.
Ryan, you're mischievous. Enough
so
said.
bad, it's good.
Stanford Steve.
Ryan is driven, and SVP is set.
That might be a lot funnier to us. I don't know.
I'm set. That implies he tries hard, and I kind of am laying it up. That's upsetting. Okay, I like how we're going. You go.
All right, great start. If you had to bet on someone's life you would rather have in 5 years, outsider, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Van Pelt. You are kind of like high-risk stock. In 5 years, you could be surrounded by movie stars, or you could be under the Housatonic Bridge.
You're talking about me right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You're too high risk for me. Van Pelt's kind of already got what I want.
Because I'm set.
That's right.
All right.
Mine goes along those lines also, but I'm picking Ryan because I know he'll be working, and I don't trust myself. Like, I look at Scott as being retired in 5 years. I don't trust myself being retired, so.
What am I going to be doing?
How old did you get since yesterday?
Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers. What am I going to be out in the back chewing on Lorna Dunes? What the hell happened to me?
Man, outsider, you nailed me. Because that's exactly what my buddies say. They're like, I think Russillo stock is too high, but it might be really good to get in on now. And then others are like, do you touch it? So, perfect answer.
All right. I'm going to wait to really ratchet up the uncomfort level. Riding cross country with blank would be the worst because. I need you to fill in both the blank of who and because.
All right. I'm going to go riding cross country with Scott would be the worst because you would be always doing something, always on their phone, always texting. You would be the worst to ride with.
Not talking to you, not being your buddy.
Pretty much everything except that. Ryan, you would be the worst to ride cross country with. Because,
no, there's just one answer.
That's okay. If he has another critique of me, I'm all for it.
Let's move this along.
No. Now we have to hear it.
Ryan would be the worst because.
I think you'd be always complaining. You'd always have something. Either my driving is awful, or the music I'm listening to isn't good enough, or the sun is glaring too bright, or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
We're just looking for one here, Stanford Steve.
Okay, it would be you because I think you would want to stop more.
Me?
Yeah.
Where would I want to stop?
I don't know, like treats or, you want some biscuits. You got to go to number one. You got to
okay. All right.
Charge your phone.
Your biscuit stops are known.
Yep. Well documented. Hey, why are you guys 3 hours late? Van Pelt wanted more biscuits. It's SVP and Russillo. We're playing a game. We don't know what it's called, but you get the gist.
Okay, question number 4. Which story does Ryan tell far too often on the air?
So one each for this?
No, just one. Or both.
Don't worry about it. We're good.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Scott with your Golf Channel hair stories. You've got the perfect head for it. You need to embrace it more. Everyone wishes they had the dome that you had. We don't want to hear about when you had hair back at the Golf Channel.
Okay.
Ryan, you want one for Ryan too?
If you have one.
I do Snowpiercer. No one's seen it. Stop mentioning it. It pops up on Netflix on me all the time, and I'm like, should I watch this? And I listen to the description. I can't do it.
Sit down with your Snowpiercer talk over there, kid. All right.
Steve. No one's seen it. That was so great.
Ryan, I was there. I really don't care you caught a touchdown anymore in the Beach Bowl.
Fair.
Scott.
Yep.
The whole essence of you saying you're never invited to the ESPYs it's run its course. You did go at least once. You were with Tiger Woods. And you're working every time the ESPYs are overseas.
That's fair.
Wait a minute, you've been?
I wasn't invited by ESPN. I was invited by Tiger Woods.
Which is better.
Yeah.
Companies never requested my presence. It's SVP and Russillo. The game has no name, but it's us taking inventory of our lives through the eyes of our coworkers.
Here we go.
This is now we're getting down to it.
This is where friendships will be challenged.
Describe each host's most insufferable trait. Stanford Steve already has his head in his hands. Doesn't want to do it. Sweating profusely. Outsider.
All right. For Scott, I'll say your most insufferable trait is your attention span. Because you'll give it to pretty much anyone. But if we can't make you feel like your life's going to benefit in the first 8 seconds, you're off to something else.
That's reasonable.
A lot of this is phone related. Buddy trips, biscuit stops.
My attention span is
your biscuit app that you
Okay.
have.
Ryan
was easy. He's a procrastinator. I don't know how long I've waited for you to pay up on this hungry man. It's still not happening.
Maybe it's just the big. It's like Pacquiao Mayweather 5 years later. Think about the pay-per-view buy.
Where's that Hawaiian pork with the brownie?
This one's going to be scary with Steve because he knows this is about as well as any single human being.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this either.
This is going to hurt.
Okay.
All right, I've gone back and forth a lot with this. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. Scott, I'm just going to say your tardiness is it's an issue.
Okay, that's reasonable. Okay. That's fair too.
Ryan, I can't put this into a word as easy as tardiness, but I have never met someone that it's so hard to look ahead a couple days. You're trying to plan a vacation. You have no idea what you're doing. You already have the days off. Where are you going? Are you excited to go? I don't know where I'm going is usually the answer. And it's brutal to always ask and, figure you're excited about something. And
yeah, you're
it's
right.
almost like you're mad at me for asking you because I should know that you don't know by now.
I am day to day, man. I mean, you're right, but I'm kind of an explorer. I kind of have that explorer spirit. So that's how I look at it.
You are mischievous.
I could be better with emails, too. Okay. How about this one? Springfield, Mass. Your car breaks down. It's 11 o'clock on a Saturday. Who are you more likely to call for an emergency ride?
I'm calling Van Pelt. He's not going to come and get me, but he'll either send an Uber or a limo or something to come get me.
Send him a limo?
I don't know. I could picture saying, all right, dude, I'll come and get you. And then 2 hours go by, and I call back, and you're like, just get a room. I'll get you in the morning.
Do we have it like that? We're just sending limos or getting rooms comp for outsider?
Van Pelt will get it done for me. I don't know.
You know what? If you call me on a Saturday and you're hanging out in Springfield, I might be like, what time's last call? Let's roll. Power hour.
Buddy trip. All right, Steve, what's your answer?
My answer is Ryan because, guys, as long as I've known you, I don't think I've ever talked to you on the phone. So the chances of you answering a phone call from me at 11 o'clock at night are 0. Ryan, at least he might think it's a funny story. So I think he would pick up.
That's the truth. I've never once spoken to you on the phone, ever.
That's weird. I can make it from my house, Springfield, hour 10. We'll make it a night. I love Springfield. We good?
I have a bad attention span. I'm late. I'm set. And
the set answer is my favorite.
Yep. All right. I thought it was going to be worse.
Could have been. Should have been.
I think Outsider Mike was afraid to really bring the heat, and Stanford Steve was kinder than I expected him to be.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It's time for Scott Van Pelt's One Big Thing. One Big Thing. On ESPN Radio and ESPNradio.com.
Did the show last night with television's John Bucci-Grass. They know who we mean. And a really cool moment happened. His star of the night was a guy making his major league debut with the Minnesota Twins. And this is what happened.
All right, Eddie, get Mom and Dad a hit right here. Get it over with. Drive to left field. This is back. This is gone. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Dick Bremer and Burt Blyleven on the call as Eddie Rosario, a young man from Puerto Rico making his Major League debut, becomes the 29th player in the history of Major League Baseball to hit a home run on the very first pitch that he saw. The very first pitch he saw, and there's so many things about it that make it cool. For those watching on television, you're seeing from the Fox Sports North broadcast, his entire family's there. Everyone's filming it on their phones, and in unison, they all stand up and go absolutely bananas because their guy, on the first pitch he saw, hit a home run. And I started racking my brain, Ryan, and I don't know if you've got an answer to this that tops it. That's awesome. And by the way, salute to the kid out there that caught it, who gave the ball back in exchange for some stuff.
That's awesome.
Really, just across the board, everything's perfect. I can't think of anything in sports that's the equivalent. You know, if you were a fighter and you knocked a guy out in the first round, or I guess. But as a positional player in any other sport, you don't have necessarily an opportunity. Maybe you catch a touchdown or throw a touchdown on your first pass as a quarterback. But there's something, the notion of a homer in your first at bat, and not just that on the first pitch. I can't think of anything that I think tops just that moment. And the fact that his whole crew's there is just really, really worth celebrating.
You're right, because there's still something so seductive, right? I'm not trying to sound like old-timey baseball historian, usually not hot. But
the seduction of the home run.
What's better than a home run? The walk-off. I know there's game-winning shots, and I think if I could do one thing, it'd be dunking traffic, like a sick dunk where I'm staring at people, showing everyone both my nipples just by pulling the jersey to the side.
Okay, I didn't understand how your nipples came out.
Oh, no. That's a move. You don't see it as much anymore. Kobe used to do it. And the compression stuff. Outsider Mike knows what I'm talking about.
Yep, because if there's one guy that knows about dunking and nipples, it's outside. All right, I'm going to shut up right now.
Anyway, you're right. I mean, I'm trying, and I can't really think. Look, it's an opinionated thing, but I'm with you on this. A home run, go deep, first pitch.
And then the whole we have to ignore you bit is, I understand that's just what's done. But, and then they won in a rout. The Twins are actually playing good baseball. Anyway.
Yeah, how about them? They couldn't get anything going. I was looking at the standings the other day. Was it 6 in a row now?
You would think that he could have designated just one family member to record it, though, instead of all 8 of them.
Isn't that how it goes? Isn't that how it goes, though? It's at whatever holiday is. Oh, here, let's take a picture. Oh, now let's use my phone. How about we use one?
Exactly.
Does everyone have everyone's number who's here? Cool. We'll send it to you. I'm with you.
Oh, I couldn't be more anti you guys right now. Hey, extra cousin.
8 versions of it?
Oh, hey, sit down, relative. We've got it. Think about that. And half the people don't know what they're doing anyway. I've had a blurry screen for a month. Nobody wants my phone.
I don't know what's going on with your phone.
I have to go to the Apple store. That'll be fun. I'm going to watch? No, I wear nice watches.
Wow. So there's some breaking news related to Lyle Collins, the lineman from LSU who signed with Dallas. And this is, you think about what happened, and obviously there's the tragic loss of life, and that's clearly more important than a guy's draft stock.
Right. His ex-girlfriend who was pregnant
was murdered,
and they
child
lost the kid as well.
A horrendous story. A collateral damage is that this guy Collins dated her, and this happened as the draft is getting ready to happen, and he had a first-round grade. And he was undraftable because teams didn't know what was what. And now he signs. It's 3 years, and it's $1.6 million, something like that. Again, we understand the tragedy. You have to go out of your way to point that out now. But what happened to this guy is brutal because he lost a ton of cash that he would have got. He'd have been a first-round pick.
If you look at the money guaranteed, say the 4 years, and it's basically everybody gets, your first-round pick, you're going to get that 4-year money for the most part. And last year, Eric Ebron, tight end for the Lions, is about $13 million. That's the 10th pick. 20th pick's Brandon Cooks, receiver for the Saints. That's about $8.5 million. So if Collins goes 10, goes 20, he may have lost $10 million for something he may have had nothing to do with.
Well, apparently had nothing to do with. And the one positive from a financial that Louis Riddick was explaining is that as an undrafted free agent, you're closer to being able to get to that next deal and the ability to I think 2 years in you can renegotiate. So he'll get it, but the Dallas Cowboys get themselves an awfully good lineman and add it to what already is one of the strengths of their football team, Lyle Collins out of LSU.
SVP and Russillo.
No, but not for real.
Why don't you set this up on Kevin Love, because you were explaining what you were wondering before the show started.
It expands into something else, but if you look at Kevin Love, and now he's not going to be playing, shoulder surgery, he could opt out, but now you don't think he is. I don't know that he was going to opt out anyway. He still had 1 year left on a player option for next year.
Uh-huh.
But how do you feel about him? Are you glad that maybe the numbers people were proven wrong? Do you feel sympathy for him? Do you feel both? Does he feel like actually an underrated piece now as they go up against Chicago and maybe even further? Because, say what you want about the guy, it hasn't been a very good year. It hasn't been a very easy year to be Kevin Love.
I think back to last June, July, when all of this was going on, and thinking about, wow, LeBron goes back here. He, Kyrie, and Love together. We knew from the first time we saw this in Miami not to just assume that you'd hit the ground running. There is a learning curve to anything. And I must admit that what he was, which was on the bench in key spots, and looking lost at times, not fitting in the way I thought, that really surprised me. I don't believe that it proves that in Minnesota that he was just some collector. I mean, I have eyes. I could see what he did. Did he bust his hump on defense? Maybe not, because he knew his energy was needed on the other end.
Or he just didn't want to play. I mean,
that too.
Like he's an extreme. No one's debating the talent, right? I mean, we're sitting here going, this is a really talented guy.
Yes, but I'm not, and you're not. But it became that somehow, at least I got the feeling that there were people that wondered, Ryan, if Minnesota was some sort of a mirage, that he was able to just accumulate on a garbage team, and that, you know what, he's really not what we thought he'd be in Cleveland. I think in the very end you started to get a sense of what he might be. And the irony is that when they lost him, it was like, oh, man, I wish we had him. This piece that seemed like a luxury suddenly seems like a necessity.
No, that's a good way to put it, because you go from, well, this guy's not that great, to, well, it doesn't mean we don't want him out there.
Right. Yeah, so I was wrong a couple of years ago. We know my list accumulation skills poor, but I had him as like a top 5 in the league. That's wrong, obviously. But I didn't think that he was not like top 30 player. And there were times this year where it was, if you started putting together a list, you wouldn't have thought to even name his name. And I'm not talking about a Derrick Rose who was injured. I'm talking about a guy that just was lost. So I wonder, in the grand scheme, and if they win, but they win without him, is that satisfying? Because you and I both know the answer to that's no. Like,
for him, no.
Hey, I got a ring. No, you didn't.
I don't know. Was it Levitar that brought it up first, and then Colin started talking about it? You go, if you're Kevin Love, are you rooting for Cleveland? And I get well, if I'm not there,
that's human nature.
How well do I want it to go? But then you're also talking about guys that you would hope, even though that topic is debated quite a bit this year, how close is he with these guys? You'd still think he'd want to see success from guys that he spent 6-7 months with. So.
Right. There's a lot of things that he is and isn't. I don't think I can't think he's a petty guy, but it was odd, I thought, at times. It felt like, we talked about LeBron and social media and tweeting out, like, fit in or whatever. I mean, it was a strange dynamic. And,
and it was real. Like, we saw him get benched. We saw him be disappointed. We saw the numbers decline. We saw the oddity with the LeBron stuff. And then he tried to play it off as, well, that was our world, and we were mixed up with it, and he wasn't paying attention. You go, you're the catalyst for it. You're the one who started it with some of this stuff, and then you said it wasn't a big deal. Then you admitted that you did it for a reason. So, I mean, it was a very odd thing. There's two things, though, that I want to bring up. And that one is that if you keep saying he's lost all this money, if the surgery goes well, which in the first case, it always goes well, right? It always goes well until it isn't good. He hasn't lost $1. He hasn't lost $1. Because if he became a free agent this year or comes back and plays next year and then decides to leave, every team's going to be able to talk themselves into, we have this money, we have this cap space. It was a bad fit in Cleveland. Here's all the money we could possibly pay you. So I don't think he'll have lost $1 unless they come back and go, massive structural damage, 3 surgeries, on and on. The other part is what do we do with our stars in the NBA playoffs? The stars in the NBA are the most recognizable in the United States. Right. Do you agree?
No doubt.
Okay?
Outside of quarterbacks. And it's a handful of those guys.
But when you look at the stars in the NBA today and you think about the way they are talked collectively, how many are doing enough? How many are being talked about the next day where you go, I am satisfied with that player's performance?
Well, there's never been a more caustic time to exist on the planet, man. We hate you, and we can't wait to hate you more.
Okay, but then maybe, because I was thinking about it last night, and you might be right. And I've said 2015. This is a tough time, man. It's a tough crowd.
The toughest.
But James Harden, game 1. Oh, this year MVP? Okay. And then last night, he didn't have a great game. Got to the free throw line a bunch, hit a couple threes late, so started, he got to 30. Blake Griffin is somebody that I've looked at in the fourth quarter going, I love him. I'll take him. I'll take him on my team. The rebounding is insane, and he's so important in that offense now without Chris Paul. But there are times in the fourth quarter. But you go Steph Curry after game 2. You go Dwight where he's been the last. How many guys actually in the league, more often than not, their performance is accepted as adequate?
Good enough?
Right? Yeah, okay. LeBron was good enough in game 2.
I think that this is an offshoot of the question, who do people like? And we just don't think that people like that many guys. Durant is almost never criticized, and I don't think Curry takes much in the way of people being mad at him.
Nope, I don't. But I mean, they were throwing around in TNT that Blake Griffin's had the best postseason of any single player. It's very early. We're just at the start of the second round. But are you completely dismissing what Steph did in the first round against the Pelicans because he had a bad game 2 against Memphis?
Well, I wouldn't do that.
Chris Paul, it's never enough. Melo, you might as well just jump into lava with that argument because that's not going to happen.
Where's the lava?
Not nearby here, thank God.
Yeah, we don't have to sweat the lava.
But think about that. Of all these guys that are legit superstars, the top 10, top 20 players in the league, how often is the public, after a playoff experience or a playoff performance, going, that was good. That was good enough. I'm okay with what he did tonight.
It's really rare.
Think how crazy that is.
It is. But it's just the environment. It's the environment now I don't understand it. I don't understand wanting so much to just salivate and wait to celebrate in the stumble or the failure, or not even the stumble or the failure, but the success that still didn't sate our need to see you be what we told you were. You're great. Well, then, you weren't great, and I'm mad that you're not as great as I thought you were and said you were. You trouble me.
We have more access to opinions than we've ever had before, and I just think that when you are locked in, when you are married to this player is only capable of this, then we hear from every version of that opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Paul has a great night after Game 7, those guys disappear. If he comes back Game 3, they lose to Houston. Game 7 didn't exist. I was just quiet that day.
Correct and correct.
SVP and Russillo.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Michael Wilbon from PTI kindly stops by, as he often does. And, Michael, you and I on the topic of race, we've talked about it on air. We've talked about it off air. We've sat on panels together where we've talked about it in a room full of people. And yesterday on PTI, you and Tony discussed the McCoy, LaShawn McCoy comments about Chip Kelly. And for those that missed it, I just want to play it and I want to circle back on that, all right?
Yep.
Here we go.
They were able to sort of get around the Riley Cooper episode in large part. I mean, Cooper handled himself going forward in a much better manner. And also, black players put their arm around Riley Cooper and say,
well, Michael Vick,
we're not having that.
Michael
Vick specifically.
Michael Vick did.
But you know what? When you have a second incident with one club, and I know that wasn't on Chip Kelly's watch.
No.
But when you have a second incident, he has to coach black players, which is still about 65, 68% of the league. He's got to recruit them as free agents. Now, I don't know that I'm ready to subscribe to everything Shady McCoy said here. But, Tony, there is a feeling about the league with this, not just Chip Kelly.
Michael, when he says what he says, and he's gotten rid of players, the good wins of black players, but then they're replaced almost man for man by other players that are African American as well. I don't know what to make of it. What if you're saying you're not willing to subscribe to it entirely? Is there some part of it that you buy that Shady said?
There is I specifically, as you heard in that clip, talking about the league.
Yes, I understand.
When you hear black people, and Scott, you know this from just your life being as diverse as it is. When you hear black people talk about a plantation mentality, that is ascribed to the NFL more than other leagues, more than all the other leagues combined. A plantation mentality. Sometimes it is cultural, the divide, and not racial, but the notion of stars and independent voices, that isn't tolerated as much in the NFL. That's an NBA thing. And a lot of times star black players in the NFL, they're in the wrong league because they want to be able to conduct their lives as their friends, their peers do in the NBA, where players of any race, but let's face it, we're talking about black players, have so much more power that is not in existence at all in the NFL, where you could be cut and told to take a walk at any time. So there's a dynamic there that is much more subtle. I do not subscribe to just Chip Kelly didn't want black players, only wants white players. I do not subscribe to that. But is there an issue? Is there a perception issue in large portions of black America about the NFL and the way it conducts itself and the way it handles star players of certain subcultures? Yes, that exists. And so, where does this morph? What's Shady McCoy referring to? What do people hear? What's he referring to specifically? There's a much bigger discussion here, as is always the case with race, than just what is Chip Kelly about. It's much bigger than that.
Mike, I'm just trying to think here, and you go, okay, if you're hearing that, it's something that should always be listened to, and not dismissed. But if I'm trying to think of the comps between the NBA and the NFL, like we know how the NFL is. Is it a racially motivated thing, or is it a militaristic motivated type thing? Like where the NFL does not want. They don't want free thinkers, and they don't want 50 of them in their locker room.
That's right. No, you nailed it. Ryan, you nailed it. That's just it. And so again, now? Do young African-American men often see that as a strike against them as opposed to something larger? What you described that's exactly what I believe. It is often sort of depicted in other terms by young African-American men, particularly in their early 20s when they come to the NFL. It doesn't mean it's racial. It means they may see it that way, they may feel it that way, they may perceive it that way, and at other times, the league has had this issue when the other primary leagues, we're talking baseball and basketball here, have not. But I believe 100% the way you just described it. But you know what? My interpretation, or our interpretation, yours and mine, which dovetail, are not the only interpretations.
Here's the thing, too, and I always have to remind myself of this as a white guy, that I'm just going to see it differently. If I've dealt with racial things my entire life as a young African-American, 20-something into the NFL, then I don't know that I can blame that guy for seeing a slight or seeing a power move as anything other than racially motivated. So I can sit from the outside and say, hey, man, that's at the NFL. That's what coaches want. It has nothing to do with the skin tone, man. But if I grew up with that the whole time, then I can't. I have to try to – what I'm trying to do more and more, Michael, is when I'm dismissive of racial claims, I'm trying to at least understand where it comes from.
Well, and I think, what's great now, and, we often talk about how far we have to go. We've also come a long way. And I just think that there's a much greater percentage of people that take that step back now, Ryan, and say, wait a minute, let me look at this from another angle. And thankfully, I think that's where the conversations wind up going more often. Oh my God, much more often than they did even 10 years ago, much less 20 and 25 and 30 years ago, even when they, pertain to sports. So I'm with you on that. It's going to be interesting, but you know what? You can't just, but NFL teams and even coaches and general managers and owners, they can no longer just step back and say, oh, yeah, that's not the case. Wait a minute. We're going to have to examine this a little bit closer to make sure that's not the case. And what I wondered yesterday, as Tony and I were talking about this, was where are the people, and particularly black players who Chip Kelly has coached and stayed close to, who are going to come out now and say, wait a minute, I don't see this the way Shady McCoy does at all. Here's what I see. And luckily, the great thing about social media and just the volume of media now is we get to have many more discussions and get to 360 degrees of these issues where we used to not do that at all. And I still want to hear this afternoon and tomorrow and go into the future the voices for people who say, wait a minute, here's the Chip Kelly I know, and here's what I think the issue is.
Michael, we're all from somewhere. You're from Chicago. I always enjoy giving you the latitude to just be a fan. Tell me, Derrick Rose going home, will he get to the free throw line?
Yeah, he'll get to the free throw line. This is the way the playoffs go. I mean,
Yep.
you know, Phil Jackson and Pat Riley made an art form 30 years ago out of challenging the officials on the off day in whatever ways they could do without being fined too heavily to get things – the biggest adjustment, people talk about adjustments in the playoffs, is how you work the officials on the off day. So you think that the Houston Rockets are going to have 64 free throws when they get to L.A. in Game 3? There's zero chance of that. Derrick Rose will get to the foul line, but the Bulls will also play more aggressively. They did not last night. The disappointing thing about the Bulls is that they went in there satisfied to get Game 1, and to me, that's sort of a death sentence. You know, they got to get 2 games in Cleveland or they're not going to win this series because LeBron's going to get a game in Chicago. And so last night was the best opportunity to get that game, even though you knew LeBron was going to be vintage LeBron last night, and he was. They didn't. The Bulls, they just mailed it in. They did what Houston did in Game 1. That's just sort of disappointing for a team that has championship aspirations.
Yeah, they
but
saw.
Derrick Rose will get to the foul line.
Go ahead.
No, I don't care about the notion of 2 days rest. A lot of this is just game to game. There's not the momentum that people seem to naively think game to game. These games, each game is its own episode. And so, we're going to see a lot of difference in Game 3 than we saw in Game 2, just like Game 1 to 2 was different. That greatly different in all 4 of the series being played right now.
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
Throw to the plate, safe at the plate!
Right through the World Series.
For the 3rd time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio. SVP and Russillo.
Mayo's the best condiment. I don't think our last one was an official what, because we didn't have our guy from the OC, the king of the czar of what. 888 say ESPN.
Remember the guy with the nickname that got mad that I didn't really respect the nickname enough, and then he called back and just said he called back to let us know he's never calling back again.
It's always tough. Hey, I'm never calling you again. You just did to tell us that. 888 say ESPN. Chris from Houston is first up on what? Chris, what?
Upon a time, you guys were the world leader in handball coverage.
Yeah.
When is that going to come back?
You know, we had a T-shirt made and everything. I was super into it during the Olympics. Handball's coverage is much more difficult to find in non-Olympic times.
Yeah.
So I would say this is strictly tied to the Olympics, isn't it?
Pretty much. So that means about another year plus.
And I screwed that up because I forgot. I don't bring people in on
No,
what.
you don't.
Look, how many things in our time together have I screwed up? Most of them. So this is just add that to the list of things that I've ruined. Sorry, outsider.
All right, then let's go to Tim from Ohio. Tim, what?
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
More annoying, the indie film critic or the guy who knew an artist or a song before it went mainstream?
That's a great question, because I can't stand either.
You're telling somebody that you're a special kind of jerk by going, I kind of liked them before they got popular.
Right.
You know, indie film critic is, is fine. I mean, they probably invested some hours into it. But you're right. I mean, I might go see Avengers tonight. Do I expect it to be good? Probably not. But I got to get out of the house, man. No hoops tonight.
Dude, Blitzen Trapper? Come on. I had a bootleg. Welcome to 2010. Right?
Is that a band you just made up?
No, Blitzen Trapper.
Blitzen Trapper?
That's a band, kid. Come on.
Did they ever make it famous enough that somebody could say I knew them before?
I was trying to go super off the grid.
Hey, I used to do it. I was guilty of it. Like, well, I remember listening to Dave when, but then I grew up.
Saw Dave at the Bayou. He was pretty good. Told all my friends about him.
Yeah. I liked Fish before they had instruments.
Before they had what?
Instruments. I screwed it up.
It's okay.
All right, moving on to Chris from Knoxville. Chris, what?
All right, I'm going to throw this open to DJ Mike Ioki, Stanford Steve, and the guys. Let me hear your all's worst hangover story, and if you want to expand upon what caused that hangover, I'll hang up and listen.
You want 4 hangover stories? Outsider, give us yours.
Probably when I was in college, and I had a baseball spring weekend at a baseball game the next day, and I just was taking.
Is this the way you get the line drive to hit you in the face?
Line drive off the head, and coach, yeah.
Wait a minute, you were on the team?
I played my freshman year.
In college?
Mm-hmm. Southern Connecticut State University.
Okay, and you, during the season, just got turned, didn't care?
Spring weekend.
So how many players drank? All of them, or just you?
Well, I was a freshman, and the upperclassmen took us out. I remember having a Scorpion Bowl for the first time, and then I had my 3rd Scorpion Bowl for the first time.
Okay.
And the thing is, they used to have straw, or you used to have a straw, and you used to have like a thing where you would race. So it would be like me and an upperclassman, and another freshman with an upperclassman, and they would just put their mouths to the straws, and we'd be the only ones drinking. I found out later.
So then the next day, you're not feeling great.
Next day, I'm trying to field ground balls, and they're going all over the place. Coach is saying, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Coach, I don't feel good. I'm seeing 3 balls." And he goes, "Well, get the one in the middle." First inning comes around, first batter, line drive, right to me, off the glove, hits me in the head, knocks the hat off. Coach comes running out and says, "What happened?" I said, "Coach, it wasn't the one in the middle."
No one can beat that story.
Okay.
I missed one of my sister's rehearsals dinner because I got so drunk. But I wasn't a hangover. That was just a day drunk and missed a rehearsal dinner. That did not go over well.
What were you sipping on?
Scissorp. No, it was the cellar. It was just a lot of really bad beer.
Get yelled at?
My mom wanted to murder me. My grandma felt bad because people told her I didn't feel well. So my mom said, "He doesn't feel well because he's drunk."
How old were you?
College.
The one that comes to mind, I threw up bile the next morning and then had to go through a dark cave as part of a hazing incident that I had no idea if I was getting in or out of. It was dark, and there was 10 people in front of me, another 10 behind me, and at one point I was on my back, crawling backwards with about 6 inches of space between me and the rock. So it was like crawling through a coffin in the dark, hungover. And once I got out, you can imagine the adrenaline rush of not dying was enough to get past the hangover.
All right.
Coffin? No.
He's going to pass.
All right.
You need a full segment.
Yeah. I don't get hungover.
I love those guys.
All right, let's go to Seth from Washington. Seth, what?
Hi, this question is probably more for you, Scott. I am going to the U.S. Open next month. What is something that I have to do?
Meet Matt Berry.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, meet the host of Golf on ESPN, Matt Berry, and then not. Okay, here's not what you should do, but what you have to not do is wear spikes to the course. You're not playing, so you don't need to dress as if you are, and you don't need to scream, "Mashed potatoes!" You don't need to do that. What I'm really trying to do is give you a list of things not to do. So don't wear spikes, don't scream mashed potatoes, and don't look directly at ESPN's Matt Berry, host of Golf on ESPN, because he doesn't like it if you look him directly in the eye.
All right, let's go to Mike from Spokane. Mike, what?
Yeah, guys. Hey, what's worse, seeing dirt under your coworkers' fingernails or having dirt under your own? I'll hang up.
I'm very particular about this. It troubles me. It would bother me more, but I understand the question, because if the other person did, you're like, what's that dude into? Why isn't he taking care of his P's and Q's?
Yeah, I think other guys it would bother, because if it was me, I would know that was just a bad day, because I'm usually pretty on top of it, and I would assume the other person's a filthy human being.
All right, how about Lance in Buffalo? Lance, what?
All right, fellas. I know the segment is called "What," but who would win if the four of you competed in a dance-off?
I think it's definitely Outsider.
It's the two guys behind the glass. It's Steve or Outsider. We don't call him Mr. Urban Comedy Enthusiast for nothing. I imagine Steve has a little shake in there as well.
You got that right.
So it's those two. We are the 16 seeds in this one.
Yeah, because ours is too cool to try. We're both too cool to try, guys.
There's not enough Boone's Farm in the state.
When was the last time either one of you danced?
I was at a wedding recently. Does the slow dance count?
No.
I know.
I dance at the house solo a lot.
To what?
DMX.
Depends on my mood. Who's a better dancer, Outsider? You or Stanford Steve?
I've never seen him dance, but I would put money on myself on that.
You dance with greater energy and enthusiasm than you brought to the game, the one-on-one game?
Most definitely.
What are the chances we can maybe get Step Up Revolution 3 behind the glass and just have you guys step to each other? Can we tape this?
Yeah. Can we get a big
Do you have a case of beer?
Can we get
Yes, I will buy you
All
a case of any beer you want if you have a dance-off with Outsider.
And I'll bring a box from a refrigerator and put it in the middle if you'll do like Electric Boogaloo and somebody breaks.
Do you need a ref? Steve Jones.
Just
Steve, one of the best officials going here.
I think is this happening?
If you get to drink, I get to pick the music at least.
He's gonna have a hard. Steve, you're gonna have a hard time dancing if he picks the music, because it's gonna be some.
Might do some breaks.
We don't need to make this complicated. You guys are having a dance off, and Steve's getting beer.
That's the beginning and the end of it. You're right. Something great happened today during what? A dance contest. Put it on the books. Hey, Ryan, when is it? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
SVP and Russillo.
Who would be least likely to give you back a proper amount of change? You give us a 20 to go down to the little halfway cantina to pick up some ho-hos. Cost $1.80. You're due back some change. Which of the two of us is least likely? Least likely to give you the proper change.
I'm actually going to go Van Pelt. I don't think you got the time to run back and give somebody the.
So I'm just going to pocket
15 cents back.
Yeah, but I'm bringing you back your food. I can just give you the change with the food. What am I going to just pocket your cash?
Why?
I gave you $100 for nothing.
Oh, see, now we lost the spirit of the game.
Mike's right though. We're on to something else. Deflection.
Yeah, for Steve.
That was the one question I couldn't decide, because I want to say both, because both of your short-term memories is awful. It's terrible. It's one of your worst traits.
Not a question. We already answered the thing you hate about us the most, but thanks for the bonus.
I'm tardy, and Ryan can't look into the future.
I got to tell you, the general theme from Outsider today is that Van Pelt doesn't pay a lot of attention to him and just is a generally distracted person. And if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know that it's unfair.
No, listen, I'm self-aware. I think one of the qualities about myself that I'm proudest of is that I am self-aware, and I know what I'm not good at, and all the things that were said today were fairly constructive and all rooted in truth. No one's saying this stuff to be mean. They didn't make it up. I'm distracted. I don't pay a lot of attention. True.
The phone stuff.
Awful. Tardy. As charged. But I just want you to know, Outsider, for all this, for all these, you're getting kind of comfortable today, really, really flexing those muscles. Just seeing it. Hey, your name's not on this show. Okay?
Not yet.
You keep that in mind. Not yet. What a great answer. I mean, who would really say that to somebody? Not me. I'm just joking. You're my guy.
I don't really have anything else.
Okay.
We've kind of just wandered.
What are we going to do for fun tomorrow now?
I'm working all weekend again, so tonight's the night. I'll probably end up in, I don't know, who knows.
Heads up, West Hartford. Keep an eye out. A super aggressive V, a really deep V. What's the deepest V you have?
I have one. I have one that's not even street legal. I wore it in Mykonos, and guys were like, "Hey, look, clean it up."
So it's more like a cardigan than a V-neck. It's a cardigan.
It's so bad that I bought it as a joke, and I don't know that I've never worn it outside of the house.
Somebody's got one on today.
Yeah, I saw that. Somebody's V was so shallow that he had to go undershirt. Huh?
Yeah, I got dressed with my eyes closed today.
Yeah, but that thing over the top, it's almost like you're an extra in Gilligan's Island. Like, I can't figure out. And then underneath it is soccer. It's a very nautical shirt.
Yeah. It's a rough morning.
Man.
Go see Snowpiercer.
Here it goes.
Dude, there's a train, and it's a metaphor for a lot of, a lot of stuff.
How about the Brady guys? We're going to play that again. Is that on the podcast, the Brady stuff? All right.
I was going to play it going out, and then I realized it's a minute, and we're almost – the show's, sadly, I'm sure for all of America, is almost over. We've exhausted our allotted time. But we get 3 more hours tomorrow if Russillo makes it after going out tonight in a deep V and inhaling scotch.
Miguel Cabrera leads the Detroit Tigers into Anaheim to face Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels. The pregame's at 7 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN2 and on ESPN Radio.